If you spend enough time in the shiny hunting community, you'll notice something. Everyone has a hunt they swear you have to do. Starter, the legendary beast, Safari Zone Pokemon. Ask 10 shiny hunters for a bucket list, and you'll hear the same names over and over again. But popularity doesn't answer the question that actually matters. Are they worth it? Every major shiny hunt in Generation 3 has the same exact odds, 1 in 8192. If the odds never change, why do some hunts become lifelong memories while others feel like a chore? Because odds don't define a hunt, the experience does. I've spent hundreds of hours hunting through FireRed's biggest challenges, from a full shiny dream team to every roaming legendary beast. Some hunts lived up to the hype, others absolutely didn't. So today, I'm ranking every major shiny hunt in Pokemon FireRed. Not by rarity, not by prestige, and not by how long they take, but by one question. If I lost every shiny I own tomorrow, which of these hunts would I actually want to do again? Now, this isn't a difficulty ranking. Every hunt on this list shares the same shiny odds. Instead, every hunt is judged by 3 questions. Does the hunt stay engaging? Is the payoff worth the investment? Would I recommend this hunt to someone else? The best hunts aren't always the rarest. They're the ones where the journey feels worth taking. Let's start by talking about the legendary beast. If you asked me before doing this hunt where it would rank, I probably would have put it near the top. These are 3 iconic Pokemon. A full set of legendary beasts is one of the coolest collections you can own in FireRed. The hunt itself is where I struggle. When I was hunting these, I noticed something. I wasn't thinking about the Pokemon anymore. I wasn't excited to check another encounter. I wasn't looking forward to the next reset. I was just trying to get through them. Now, don't get me wrong. It's one of the coolest accomplishments I've had in Pokemon. But if someone asked me tomorrow, should I hunt them? I'd probably tell them no. And let me be clear, I'm not saying these hunts aren't impressive. They absolutely are. But remember, I'm judging whether I tell someone else to spend the next few months doing it. Next, let's talk about the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone had the opposite problem. The hunt itself is exciting until you find a shiny. Then you don't have control over whether or not you can catch it. It's all a chance. Because finding a shiny is only half the battle here. You still have to catch it. And a Pokemon can disappear because of a random escape chance after months of hunting. And some people love that tension. I understand why. But it makes it difficult to recommend. Safari Zone is an incredible accomplishment. It just isn't an experience I would tell every shiny hunter to attempt. Chansey might be the perfect example. It's already one of the rarest encounters in FireRed, so every time you finally see one, your brain starts thinking, what if this is it? Then imagine that actually happens. Months of hunting, it shines, and before you can even catch it, it's gone. Tauros and Kangaskhan suffer from the exact same issue. They're exciting because they're rare, but once they're shiny, your success isn't guaranteed. Some people love it. Personally, after hours of hunting getting to that point, I'd rather lose because I made a mistake, not because the game decided that it should flee. I just don't think they're the hunts I'd recommend if your goal is to enjoy shiny hunting. If D tier was made up of hunts I wouldn't recommend, C tier is a little different. These aren't bad hunts, they're just hunts I think most people will only enjoy if they already love the Pokemon. Let's start with the fossils. Aerodactyl, Kabutops, and Ammonite all come from one-time revives, making them simple, soft reset hunts. There's really nothing wrong with these. The setup is straightforward, the resets aren't painfully long, and ending up with a shiny fossil Pokemon is undeniably cool. The problem is, the hunt itself isn't memorable. You're resetting in front of the same machine, watching the same animation, checking one Pokemon, then doing it all again. It's not interesting. It's not frustrating, it's just repetitive. If one of these is your favorite Pokemon, absolutely go for it. Otherwise, I don't think the hunt does enough to stand out. That's why the fossils land in C tier. Next up, we'll talk about Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. These two have almost the same exact strengths and weaknesses. On one hand, the Fighting Dojo is one of the coolest one-time rewards in FireRed. On the other, it's another hunt where you're simply resetting in front of an NPC. There's no progression, no gameplay, no evolving story. You either get the shiny or you reset. They're perfectly fine hunts. I just don't think they're the ones people will remember years later. Another solid C tier. Now this is where things start getting interesting, because B tier is full of hunts I'd actually recommend. Not because they're perfect, but because they all have something that keeps them engaging. Let's talk about the legendary birds. These are some of the safest shiny hunts in FireRed. They're iconic, they have great locations, and you actually get to battle them. The reason they don't rank higher is that the hunt itself is the entire experience. Once you've seen one reset, you've seen them all. Still, I would recommend these hunts. They're classic FireRed shiny experiences. I think a lot of people expect these to rank higher, and honestly, I almost put them in A tier. Like I said, they're iconic, they're legendary, and their shinies are fantastic. They're incredible trophies, I just don't think the hunt itself is especially unique. So, strong B tier. Now, I'm going to talk about a hunt that I think is very underrated, which is Electrode. The power plant gives this hunt something many others don't have, a sense of place. You're not just searching anywhere, you're hunting in a location that makes sense for the Pokemon. It's simple, memorable, and overlooked. That's enough for B tier. And then there's Snorlax. There are only 2 of them, everyone remembers waking them up, and seeing one sparkle would be unforgettable. But that's where I stopped just short. The hunt ends almost immediately. Unlike a starter, you don't get an entire adventure afterward. It's still an amazing hunt, just not one I call the very best FireRed has to offer. High B tier. The next hunts are where I think FireRed really separates itself from other Pokemon games. Not because they're easier, not because they're rarer, but because they're the hunts that kept me coming back. Let's start with the gift Pokemon. Eevee and Lapras are 2 of the most iconic gift Pokemon in the entire series, and I think FireRed does both of them incredibly well. Gift Pokemon work because the shiny doesn't end with the encounter. Lapras becomes part of your team, Eevee becomes a choice. The reward continues throughout your playthrough, and that makes these feel more personal than most static encounters. If we're being more specific, one thing I love about gift Pokemon hunts is how simple they are. There's no encounter manipulation, no repel tricks, no worrying about something running away. You save, receive the Pokemon, check, repeat. That simplicity lets the excitement come from the Pokemon itself. Lapras is already one of the strongest Pokemon you'll receive during a normal playthrough. So when the shiny finally appears, you're not putting it in a box. You're probably putting it straight onto your team, and that matters because the hunt doesn't end when you get the shiny. It becomes part of the rest of your adventure. That alone is enough to earn Lapras in A tier ranking. And Eevee earns its spot for a similar reason. The shiny itself is great, but what really makes this hunt special is what comes next. Every player has a different favorite evolution. Some will choose Jolteon, others Vaporeon, or even Flareon. That means the reward isn't just one shiny. It's getting to build the version of that shiny that's unique to your playthrough. It's a small detail, but it gives a hunt a level of personalization that most static encounters don't have. Easy A tier. Now we get to what I think is one of the most underrated shiny hunting methods in FireRed, the game corner. At first glance, this doesn't even feel like a shiny hunt. You're buying Pokemon instead of catching them, but that's exactly why it works. Instead of spending an entire reset checking one Pokemon, you're checking an entire batch. Every box feels like progress, and Abra is a perfect example of that. The hunt stays exciting because every batch feels like another chance. You aren't just waiting, you're building toward a shiny. The hunt constantly gives you something to look forward to. Every new batch could be the one. That sounds like a small difference, but over thousands of checks, it completely changes how the hunt feels. When I was hunting Abra, I never felt like I was waiting. I always felt like I was making progress. That's why the game corner hunts earn an A tier from me. When I started making this list, I kept asking myself one question. What actually makes a shiny hunt unforgettable? Because it isn't the odds, it isn't how difficult the hunt is, and it isn't even how rare the Pokemon is. Then I realized the best shiny hunts are the ones where the moment you find the shiny is only the beginning. And for me, only 2 hunts truly do that. Let's start with what I think is the best soft reset hunt in FireRed. The starters. If you never hunted a starter before, it's easy to look at it and think it's just another soft reset. Save the game, pick your Pokemon, trigger if it's shiny, reset, repeat. Mechanically, that's true, but emotionally, it's completely different. The second that shiny appears, the hunt transforms into an entirely new playthrough. Every badge, every rival battle, every gym leader. Now, your shiny is there for all of it, and that makes the hunt special. The payoff isn't catching a shiny, the payoff is getting to experience the entire game with it. There's a connection there because it's the first thing that you get. When I think back on my favorite FireRed memories, I don't remember the individual resets. I remember the adventure that came after. That's why the starter hunt is an easy S tier. But if there's one shiny hunting experience that defines FireRed for me, it was building a full shiny dream team. I know this technically isn't one hunt, it's 6. I'm gonna pull from my experience. I was excited when I caught my starter. I hunted for a Nidoran, I was excited for Nidoran. I hunted an Abra, I was excited for Abra. And then when I got Abra, I was thinking about the next Pokemon. Every shiny becomes another chapter in the same story. Unlike almost every other hunt that we've talked about, the finish line never feels like the end. It feels like progress. Your team slowly comes together. The game changes, your strategy changes, and by the time you reach the Elite Four, you're looking at a team that exists because of hundreds of hours of patience. That's something no single shiny hunt can recreate. It's why even after all these years, if someone asked me for the ultimate FireRed shiny hunting experience, this is what I'd recommend. And that's why it earns the final spot in S tier. So that's my ranking of every major shiny hunt in Pokemon FireRed. Look, I know, some of the most respected hunts in FireRed are also the ones I'd never recommend. Some of my favorite hunts aren't famous because they're difficult. They're memorable because they're simply fun to do. At the end of the day, that's what matters most to me. Not how impressive the hunt looks on paper, but whether I'd actually want to do it again. Now obviously this list is just my opinion. If your favorite hunt ended up lower than you expected, good. Tell me why. Seriously, what shiny hunt do you think deserves more credit? And which one do you think the community overrates? I'm curious to see how different everyone's list looks. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you like shiny hunting or want to see more Pokemon challenge videos. I love making these videos, guys. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.